Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Time for another impromptu video. I know a lot of people actually enjoyed the plant protein powder video the other day. This one won't be so much of a rant. This is just something I like to talk about at specific times of the year. And actually, for those of you that have been following me for quite a while, which I know is many of you, you'll remember around this time last year, I did a video and it was called Dehydration and the Extreme Cold. And Facebook deleted it because Facebook now deletes videos every 30 days if you don't save them. So the ones I've been doing recently, I've been saving them. And then at least I have them if someone wants them again, or I can upload them to YouTube. But ones from a long time ago, I put out so much content, it would be really hard for me to get back and do all of that. Anyway, it doesn't even matter because Facebook has deleted most of them. So it's still in my head. We'll redo them. So this one today it's the perfect time actually to do this. And I've spoke to many people this week and I've been like, doesn't it seem like all of a sudden the cold just came out of nowhere? Like 1 minute it's lovely, lovely and sunny, and now all of a sudden it's just freezing. What happens when it gets freezing? Well, one, people are less inclined to drink fluids because we don't have that external factor like we would have with sweat in the summer. But two, we tend to have the heating on all the time. And that's not just the heating in the house, that's the heating in the car, that's going in and out of stores, in the office. And then when it gets really cold, especially in Alberta, you've got like really dry air. So all of that then compounds. And what I've been getting a lot of messages about this week, and even some of last week, is yeah, I've been waking up with a headache every morning this week. I don't know why I have such a headache, or I have so much tension around my neck and my shoulders, or, I'm just so bloated all week. And I'm like, have you been having your regular bowel movements? No, I'm a bit constipated. So all these kind of signs or symptoms or issues are cropping up in people. And for me, it's always my first kind of thought, like, how is your hydration? How is your sleep? But obviously, for the average person, it's not. But for something like this, if you're experiencing these symptoms, the first thing is, am I hydrated? Like, am I properly hydrated? And the response I generally get is, yeah, I'm pretty good with my fluids. Okay, you might be pretty good, but actually, are you now compensating for the extra temperature change and the dry air and the air conditioning and the heating being on? Like, if you're, and Canadians do this, Irish people not so much, but if you sleep with the heating on all night, even if it's low, heating is very drying. It pulls a lot of water out of your skin. Then if you're a mouth breather, we know in the research you can lose up to 40% a day of your water, the water out of your body when you're a mouth breather. So all of this water is just being pulled. And then people, like, they notice their hair is getting really dry and their skin's getting dry because all this water is just pulled up. Anyway, if you're asleep for 8 or 9 hours in the one spot and you're just got the heating on steady all night, you're going to be so dehydrated when you wake up. You're going to have a headache, or you're going to feel a lot of tension around the back of the neck and the shoulders. Your nose will be very dry. Your mouth will be very dry. Even your eyes will feel dry. Then you could have the lovely brain fog. And then you have to look at the constipation. And some people also don't recognize that when someone's gut gets very, very stressed, let's say it's severely dehydrated and they have some sort of IBD or IBS, irritable bowel issue, that constipation can present in diarrhea as well, because your body's just so stressed and it's just going to try flush and flush and flush all the time. So with this weather, again, it's not our natural inclination to think I need extra hydration in the cold weather, because we more so associate that with the heat and the summer and sweating. Hi, Julie. So I've always said, since moving to Canada, Ireland is a different story because it's very wet and humid and damp and gross in Ireland. But here it's so dry and the air becomes so frigid that I think there is a strong argument to be made that you are at higher risk for dehydration here in the winter than you are in the summer. So this chronic exposure to dry, really dry air that's pulling fluid out of you 24 hours a day. And like, what, we're still in October now, so we have right up to at least March where this is going to be a daily thing. You need to be really aware of your hydration. So let's look at that. What's the target on an average day, like in quote normal weather? I'm recommending my clients are at about 3.5 liters. In this weather, and depending on how cold it is, because we haven't obviously gotten to the extreme cold yet, I'm thinking you need at least, right now, another half a liter. When it gets extremely cold, probably another liter. So you're looking at 4.5 liters, which is a lot, but which does also include soups, shakes, smoothies, stew, anything with liquid counts. Even coffee. Yes, coffee counts for hydration. Then there's the conversation around electrolytes. I had a conversation with Wade Lockhart, who's the founder of Bioptimizers, the other day, and it'll be released in the next week or two, and it was just purely on minerals and electrolytes. And basically, in summary, we were discussing how most people, but especially women, need a lot more minerals and electrolytes than they realize. So most, at least in my private clients now that I've been speaking to over the last week or two, they know they need at least 2 servings of electrolytes a day. And each serving of electrolytes should be mixed in 750 to 800 mils of water. And there's reasons for that. But if you're my client, just do what you're told. And they also need to then be conscious that they're having like their fresh fruit, which is very rich in minerals, enzymes, electrolytes, and structured water, which we know is extra hydrating. They also know they have to have sea salt in their meals as well. So look, obviously we're being quite proactive. And Julie, if you didn't remember all of this, now you're getting a nice reminder. But most people don't realize, especially women, how much minerals or electrolytes they actually need. There's a wonderful doctor, Dr. Jeffrey Bowles. He did a lot of his research on magnesium and vitamin D. And he's like, look, people should be aiming for a gram of magnesium a day, which is a lot more than most people. The average person is maybe 150 milligrams of magnesium. He's saying a gram a day, and it can take up to a year to actually balance a magnesium deficiency. Dr. Ray Peat says, look, in a woman who is very stressed, hello, all of us, she needs up to 2 milligrams of calcium, which, apart from a lot of people don't supplement calcium, but even with your food, you can track your calcium in like Chronometer. It's still a lot more than one. The RDA recommends 2, even what Chronometer has in their targets, because I use Chronometer and their target is still too low. So this is a lot more than what people think. But again, back to like electrolytes, most people think a serving a day and only if I'm working out or only in the summer. No. You absolutely need electrolytes every single day. If you're a woman, at least in your mid-30s, living nowadays, mid-30s to mid-65, living nowadays, and you have kids or grandkids and or a career, husband, if you have all the things, you need electrolytes every single day. Electrolytes are fuel or minerals. They're the same thing. Like there's hundreds of minerals and a few of them, they all carry an electrical charge, but a few of them carry a very strong electrical charge. Those are what we call our electrolytes. That's our magnesium, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, sodium. I think that's it. I think that's 5. And those are pretty much the fuel for your adrenals. And then once the adrenals are fueled, that'll support your thyroid. When the thyroid's working optimally, that'll have a downstream effect that all of the sex hormones will get produced and they will work properly. So if you're very stressed, yes, you need a lot of minerals. But when it comes to hydration, and I'll finish now after this, I don't want it to be too complicated. When it comes to hydration, You've got the intracellular and extracellular fluid. It was funny. Some woman on Facebook the other day asked me, did I know about biology or anatomy and physiology? I'm like, actually, I do. Thank you. So in the cell, you've got the intracellular water, and then outside the cell is the extracellular water. But between there, you have a sodium potassium pump. And that has to be, if you remember, I don't know if you call them levelers here, like contractors will use levelers to find if something is straight, and in between the leveler, there's that little fluid, and it'll move, and you have the lines. And once, if it's perfectly in the lines, you know you've got a perfectly straight table or wall or whatever you're building. It's think of the sodium potassium pump like that. It needs to be balanced. That way you've got optimum balance inside the cell and optimum balance outside the cell, so you are hydrating properly, and that's helping with cellular function and energy production and all properly. Anyway, electrolytes are essential, and we need a lot more than we think. Hydration is essential at this time of the year. You need a lot more. You could probably hear, like, my mouth is dry now, and I haven't even had the heating on today, but I was in the gym and I was in my car, and the air outside is dry. If you have any sort of weight issues, any sort of inflammation issues, any sort of brain fog issues, hair loss, like if you have any issues at all with your health, I could go on, like all the issues are influenced and made worse when you're dehydrated. Inflammation will be worse when you're dehydrated. Dehydration can elicit a huge inflammatory response in itself, which will stop fat burning, which is how making sure you have enough water can really, and not just water, I didn't mean to say that, making sure you're hydrated properly can really help a lot with weight loss. A lot. I've shared this, and I'm sorry to ramble, I've shared this before, that when I was in Weight Watchers, when I first started my journey like 20 years ago, a woman might get up on one of the group meetings one night and she'd be like, I just can't shift this weight, and I've been trying and nothing's working. And then the Weight Watcher leader would say, and back then I wasn't trained in any of this. I didn't understand. I actually thought this is just magic. And the Weight Watchers leader would say, well, how's your hydration? How about next week you focus on getting an extra liter? And then the next week the same woman would come in and she'd be like, it's a Christmas miracle. I'm down like 3 pounds. And to me, I was like, yeah, you got to get your water. Now I understand how it all works, because the inflammatory response, dehydration will exacerbate thyroid issues, adrenal issues, but it'll also trap toxins in your body. And if you're not releasing and flushing and diluting toxins all the time, that will affect metabolism and fat burning. And there's a few questions here. Wasn't expecting any. Why aren't you all at work? Like, I own my own business. What's your excuse? Renee, tried to drink 3 liters a day, but I'm so tired of peeing. Well, maybe you need more electrolytes, Renee. Make sure you're using sea salt. Also, carbohydrates. As much as people demonize carbs and sugar, you need carbs. You need carbs to retain fluid in your water, or in your body. We all know that carbohydrates cause fluid retention, and there's obviously balance. You have to have balance. You eat a ton of donuts, well, that's not specifically carbohydrates, it's carbs and fat, but yeah, you're going to have a lot of fluid retention. If you're just having some potatoes or fruit, that's not going to cause fluid retention. But you need carbs, because carbs stimulate the kidneys to not only signal to the body, hey, keep this water in here, it also helps the kidneys regulate the fluid too. And you need carbs to do that. Part of that is the insulin response will signal to the kidneys. So when people go like very low carb, or they're not eating enough carbs, the water will just keep going through them. They'll just, not to be too vulgar, it'll go in one hole, out the other. So the same is said for sea salt. You need to have enough salt, you need to have enough carbs, you need to have enough electrolytes. If you're peeing a lot during the night, that's a different thing. That's usually a stress response. But what magnesium is best? I personally, with my clients, I use a blend of citrate and malate, so it's called citramate. I do like Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough because that has 7 forms of magnesium in it. I know a lot of practitioners and naturopaths and doctors recommend magnesium bisglycinate. It wouldn't be my favorite. It's not the one I'm recommending first. I like citrate, which I recommended to a woman earlier who was asking me about a tip for travelers' constipation. And I was like, just load up on citrate, you'll poop. But citrate also goes into the citric acid cycle. So the citric acid cycle is like the Krebs cycle, the energy cycle. So it supports thyroid, it supports energy. Malate is great for inflammation, cognitive performance, nerve function. So I like that one. Samantha, I think it depends on your body. I do have a list in this group. If you type magnesium in the search bar, it's an infographic that lists like what each type of magnesium does. And if you just want to go for it all, then go get Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. It's a great product. But my favorite, hands down, my clients know this, my favorite is Thorne Research Citramate. Favorite. Do you have a recommendation for electrolytes? Again, my favorite, pretty easy to get your hands on. I like the Organica electrolytes, but you absolutely have to dilute them in 750 to 800 mils of water per serving. BioSteel is fine. I don't like liquid IV at all. I've seen liquid IV cause huge insulin responses and keratosis, the skin spots on your skin can cause that. I'm not a big fan of, I've forgotten the name of the other one. The really popular one, I've forgotten the name of it. I'm not a big fan of that one. So when you're looking for electrolytes, you're basically looking for ones that don't contain, obviously, the food colorings. Sucralose is a big no, and aspartame, or you call it aspartame. LMNT is the other one. I'm not a huge fan of that, but there are other ones that are pretty good. But organic is really easy to get your hands on, and now they have another, I think it's got electrolytes in it. They've got a lemon one in Costco that has collagen in it too. But Organica is my favorite, and their flavors are really good. And I've tried a lot, and I play around with stuff a lot. And I always go back to Organica for making me feel my best. I do like ATP Labs as well. I like ATP Labs a lot, but it can be expensive. Again, I've been following you for a long time. It's time to book with you. Well, Samantha, you can book, but I'm off on vacation in 2 weeks. That's the end of next week, but you can book and we can chat. So that's it. I'll leave that at that. Like, I'll probably do another one of these when the weather gets a lot more extreme, but you need a lot more hydration. I'm going to give you this last thing. So I'm 5'6", 140 pounds. Yes, I'm quite active, but in general, and I do have hypothyroid, so that kind of blunts my extra activity. I've enough that I maintain a good metabolic rate, but I'm aiming right now for 4.5 liters a day, 4 minimum, or I just feel rubbish. Like I'll grind my teeth in my sleep, I'll bite my tongue, my hands will shake because my central nervous system is stressed. Watch out for my upcoming podcast conversation with Wade. It's just going to be about minerals. Yeah, let me just double check if there's any more questions before I go. It doesn't show up on the computer. I have to look at my phone for them. Can you please post somewhere the name of the magnesiums you recommend? Yes, I'll post 2 links once I hang up. Okay, everyone, have a great weekend, and we'll chat soon. Bye.